It's story time, children. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there was a huge ship that sailed across the Atlantic. It was filled with hundreds of men and women and children on their way to a new life on a new land. A life that would be filled with pain, suffering, and false hope. African Americans were brought to America to toil in the fields and breed the children of their white masters. And toil they did. Day and night, rain or shine, tobacco, cotton, and indigo were tended. Amidst back-breaking work, whippings, and beatings, slaves were cultivated. Women were impregnated and gave birth to new generations of slaves. Even free slaves, like Anthony and Mary Johnson, who were the first recorded free blacks, and not only owned land, but their own slaves as well, were not respected by their white counterparts. An end looked nowhere in sight. That is, until 1775, when war broke out between the colonists and the British Army. 5,000 African Americans fought bravely for the colonists, including a young man by the name of Salem Poor. Salem had brought his freedom in 1769 for 27 pounds and married a free black woman. In 1775, he joined the colonists in their fight. He saw a lot of action, but was formally singled out and recognized as the hero of Bunker Hill, and a petition was signed by white office soldiers to cite his bravery and gallantry. 20,000 black loyalists chose to take note of the governor of Virginia, Lord Dunmore's proclamation, and instead fought on the side of the British in order to gain their freedom. One such acknowledged soldier was Colonel Ty. Once an enslaved African by the name of Titus, he escaped and fought on the side of the British as the most feared and respected guerrilla commander. He led raids against the Patriots and debilitated and demoralized their forces. In 1780, while leading a surprise attack on a Patriot captain, he was shot in the wrist and later died from lockjaw. The men who fought for George Washington and the Patriots were neither well received nor wanted, but because of great losses, they were accepted. These men optimistically thought that if they fought vigilantly, they would be granted their freedom, and to some extent, they would be. During the turmoil of the war, many African Americans made new lives for themselves. They changed their names, lifestyles, as well as found new homes and jobs. They proclaimed themselves to be free men and women and became cooks, servants, valets, washerwomen, and domestic servants. Some blacks, such as Phyllis Wheatley, were able to earn their freedom. Born in Africa, Phyllis was sold to a family in Boston. She was taught to read and write and was encouraged to pursue her gift of poetry by her owners. Her popularity bought her freedom on October 18, 1773. She was the first African American to publish her work. She even appeared before General Washington on March 1776 for her poetry and support of independence during the war. For a while, many blacks lived with a measure of freedom. That is, until the war ended. When the British surrendered, they left the remaining black soldiers to their fate. Many were captured and re-enslaved, while others sought passage to New York, the last British stronghold. Unfortunately for them, scores of them ended up in slavery in the West Indies and the Caribbean. Some were left to fend for themselves in the harsh conditions of Nova Scotia, while the others that were left in Charleston and Savannah were prevented from leaving with the British. And if they swam out to the retreating boats, the British would hack away their arms to keep them from following. Alas, slavery prevailed, and although slaves could now purchase their freedom and become a part of free communities, the sting of racism would follow them for many years to come.